Welcome, everyone, to A Mexican and a Redneck Follow the World. We are your hosts and surrogate fathers, Juan and Ben. Today we'll be discussing Don't Worry About Tomorrow.
Don't do it.
Just don't do it.
Don't you do it, Juan. Don't you worry about tomorrow.
So,
It'll worry about itself.
yeah. I think there's a lot of things that we can be worrying about, and especially in the state of the world that we're living in right now. We're still living in a, what's that called? Pandemic thing?
Sure.
With that bug that's out there.
Mm-hmm.
The juju bug. It's getting people.
Gonna get you.
It's going to get you the juju juice, and you're going to be jujuing.
Gonna get you real good.
It'll get you real good.
Fauci gonna put that hoodoo on you and save
Who?
you. Fauci.
Saint Fauci.
Okay.
Enough of that. So we've kind of been talking a little bit about like off the podcast, like going into the wilderness and our experience with this, with the podcast.
Oh yeah.
We're coming up to 50 episodes, Ben. 50. Cinco
De
Cero.
Mayo. No.
Cinco Cero.
Okay.
Cinquenta.
Cinco Cero.
Podcastos.
Cinquento. Podcasto.
Podcastos.
Podcast. what?
Podcastos.
I might not know Spanish.
You just put an O at the end of
Every
everything.
word.
It's Spanish.
El Camino.
And then the louder you say it, the more, obviously.
Right. Are you thirsty, O? El Watero. L and O. That'll get you anything you need.
Uh-huh.
I'm pretty sure I just offended the entire
I'm offended.
Latin American. Good.
probably-
I need
yeah.
to keep you on your toes.
Especially all those Latinx. You probably offended them, for
I
sure.
don't know who that
They're
is.
easily offended.
Okay. I don't know what that means
Hey,
either.
just don't worry about it.
I ain't going to worry about it because that's
Yeah,
what this
'cause
is
you're not
about.
supposed to worry about tomorrow.
I really try not to worry. Like, I get frustrated in the moment, but
Mhm.
I try to rectify the past if I did something wrong. That's how I deal with the past, so I don't have to worry about my decisions. If I can't, then I can't. And I really try to let stuff go. And then tomorrow, it's like you can save your money, make good investments, or what you assume would be a good investment. And if you fail, you have to just accept, I failed.
Yeah.
And just keep working hard. I think hard work and persistence help overcome worry, though.
I think it's a big distraction, too, as far as, like, there's so many tasks. Like, when you think about, have you ever had those days when you wake up early in the morning and you're like, man, today is going to be a good day. I'm going to get this, and done. But then you start thinking about future projects, and then you realize, like, oh, it's 3 o'clock in the afternoon, and I haven't even started my day. Have you ever experienced that?
Yeah, but then it means you didn't really actually care about those projects. They just seemed good in theory.
Mm-hmm.
And you cared more about doing nothing until 3 o'clock in the afternoon. And that was what was most important to you in all reality.
Mm-hmm.
Like, worry is you're worried about this, that, and the other. It's like, well, you clearly not taking an honest look about where you are right now. So, you're worrying about stuff that don't matter and you can't control. Then, there's some legit worry.
There is.
Your kids have a curfew and they're not back yet. Or someone's sick and they might die. That's a legit worry that is harder to overcome. But we're talking more about day-to-day artificial worry, if you will.
Yeah. It's kind of like the great analogy is if you have a garden and you plant your seeds in the garden and you're constantly worrying about, are they going to grow? Are they going to grow? And you go out there and check on them, like, why are they growing now? You waste so much time in that process of worrying instead of like just let them do what they're supposed to do. You doing what you need to do. Water them every day, and it's going to grow. Give them plenty of sun. It's going to grow. But I guess accomplishing the task that you need to do today so that when tomorrow comes, it's like, I don't have to worry because I did what I was supposed to do the day before.
Yeah.
You know? And it's, it's kind of like we were talking a little bit before we started doing the podcast, like going through this journey and kind of getting frustrated because like maybe we're not where we're supposed to be at, but either way, we're still at we're really at a really good spot.
Yeah.
We're coming up to the 50 episode mark, which to me, I was like, man, what is it gonna be like at 50 episodes? And I'm still kind of like, okay, that's gonna be really cool. It's like, I remember when we first started doing the podcast, we got to the 100 listen mark, and I was like, dude, dude,
100
100
listeners.
listeners, and it's like, oh, and then it's like now it's like, okay, we're kind of getting that lull, that stall, and it's like, okay, how do we get this thing growing? But it's like if we start worrying about that, then it's like we're trying to control something that's outside of our control.
Oh yeah.
It's like worrying doesn't do anything. It doesn't help you accomplish a task. It doesn't help you. It doesn't make things move faster or anything like that. On the contrary, it just slows you down. And it's amazing the power that it has in stopping productivity.
Oh, absolutely. It fills your mind.
Yeah.
It's like you just get this fog. Let me give you a real life thought. This is you and me talking. Might not be as good for the podcast, but think about it this way. We recently got on YouTube. We started making the videos. Yeah. I hope you enjoy our decorations.
I've worked very hard.
I mean, he works so hard that he's maintained to keep this plastic on this
Hey,
cord.
my mom did that. She never took the plastic off the couches that she bought back in 1982. They still have the plastic on, and you know what? They look brand new.
That's great. But we started doing YouTube and podcasting, and I had the thought where I started to worry initially, like you will with any project. Oh my goodness. I'm on Spotify or Apple or YouTube or whatever platform we're on. And it's like, I'm on the same platforms as, oh my goodness, I've got to compete with Joe Rogan.
Yeah.
And
We're going after you, Joe.
we're not, he kicks hard. Don't make him too angry.
No, by the time we get up to his level, he's probably going to be like 80.
No, it won't take that long.
We can take him when
he's
he's
a
80.
young man.
We can take him when he's 80. How old is he? He's like in his 50s.
He's in his early 50s.
Yeah, dude.
It ain't going to take
Dude,
30
if we
years.
wait another 20 years, we can take him.
Or
if we start working.
Then you would hit an old man. Do you really want to do that?
Dude, we'll be old
No.
too. It'll be fine.
No, we won't. We'll still be young men. It'll be wrong. Don't hit old people.
But it's Joe Rogan.
I don't care. We would love to be on the Joe Rogan show like everybody else who's ever done podcasting.
Yeah, we should probably just email him and be like, hey.
Can we be on your show?
Yeah.
He seems like such a cool dude.
Yeah.
Anyways, but I was like, man, I'm on the same platforms as Joe Rogan and Duncan Trussell and Jordan Peterson and all these like very famous or whoever, like I'm on these same platforms as all these people. And I was like, how am I going to compete against these giants of this industry? I mean, they're real titans of industry. They truly have mastered a craft.
Yeah.
They know what works. They know how to implement it. And people love them. And rightfully so. They've earned what they have. They've found what works, and they stick with it.
Mm-hmm.
And then I had the thought that was so encouraging. Wait a second. I've made it to the place to where I even get a chance to compete with these people.
Yeah.
And that got rid of the worry and gave me all this joy. It was like, if nothing else, I'm competing against the Titans.
Yeah.
What an honor. What a privilege. I get to compete with these people who everyone knows I say everyone, who are incredibly popular amongst the world.
Yeah.
It's like, yeah, I don't have that many followers or listeners or back and forth with important people yet, but I'm still on the platform. And I'm still trying.
And it's funny, like with this, not worrying about tomorrow, is like we know where we want to be at. Like I feel like with this podcast, it's going to be big, it's going to grow. But if we start worrying about like, oh, tomorrow, like what, and not do what we're supposed to do today, then we're never going to get there. It's kind of like the same thing if you're going into a competition. If you know you're going to fight a dude here 6 months from now, and you're just worried about the fight, but you're not doing anything about it. You're going to get up to the moment of the fight and you're going to fail because you spent all your time worrying instead of working out, doing what you were supposed to do on a day-to-day basis to get to the point to where you can actually, punch Joe Rogan when he's 50.
I'm not saying that. Have you watched that guy kick before?
No, I haven't. I need to
look up a video of Joe Rogan kicking.
Uh-huh.
that it looks like a horse kicking somebody.
So-
or something. It's incredible.
Because he does like,
He is so strong.
but it was like he's is he semi-professional MMA fighter? Or
I
is
think
like,
he did pro fight. He did some sort of like, he was like traveling around America fighting, if I
Uh-huh.
understand correctly. Like he's a real.
I know he's fought like,
Fighter
and then he
guy.
does like commentary with them too. So
No, it's not just like underground stuff or bar fights or whatever. Like he's a real competitor.
yeah,
He really did that. I know that much about him. But
I just know him from like Fear Factor. Yeah,
honestly, I heard about him from the podcast. I had no idea he was on Fear Factor until after listening to his podcast for years.
yeah.
And then I was like, or watching it on YouTube, I should say. And I was like, oh, my wife's like, oh, Fear Factor with Joe Rogan. You listen to Joe Rogan, don't you? I'm like, what?
Yeah,
He was on Fear Factor, the where they ate bugs and stuff.
yeah.
And
I
she's
always
like,
love those episodes. Like, have you ever seen that show at all?
well, she showed it to me, and I was like, that dude was smoking a ton of weed back then. He just looks high. In every episode I would see him in, I was like, because I watched a couple, I was like, that guy smoked so much weed. He just looks like I'm half asleep. Which, more power to him.
Yeah,
But-
I always like the ones where like people had to eat like bull testicles or penises, stuff like that. I don't know if they did that, but or like going to spiders. I was like, oh, that's just yeah.
Yeah, it was gross. I
That's
wasn't a
kinda
fan.
gross.
Anyways, so you're not worried?
I'm not worried. I guess I try not to be worried, Ben, because I know the world is crazy. We don't know what's going to happen, and then there's so many scenarios that's going to happen. But at the same time, I think about like, where do I want to be in life? And regardless of what happens, if I don't do what I'm supposed to do to be where I want to be in life, then it doesn't really matter. I can spend all my time worrying about it, or I can spend all my time actually working towards the goals that I want to accomplish and achieve.
Oh, yeah.
And either way, time is going to go by. So as the time that goes by, is it going to be productive time or is it going to be wasteful time? So it's kind of like, when you first told me about the podcast, we could have done this thing to where like we just talk about it, like, yeah, we're going to do it. We're going to do it. But then we decided like, no, we're going to do it. We set a commitment. We set a timetable. And we've been doing really good as far as like keeping up with that.
Oh, yeah.
You
And
know?
we've had some podcasts that were so bad at the beginning. We threw all of them out, and we're like, we're not
Yeah.
going to let anyone hear these at first.
And
at
then even
least.
still, we've had some podcasts now that it's like,
We could have done better.
we did it though. We did it.
We did it.
Yeah.
It was hard, and we're like, we're doing something wrong, but we don't even know. But
Yeah.
it was that dedication of like, just keep putting it out there. You never know what's going to hit or work. You might hate it to the end of the world, and you're like, oh, this is terrible. But then someone else is like, oh, that was the best episode
Yeah.
ever, and you're like,
Yeah.
oh, I'm glad you liked it.
Yeah, that's the crazy part. That's the crazy part when you do something and you're thinking like, oh, that was just such a waste of time. Oh my gosh. But then somebody comes to like, man, that was great. I really needed it. I'm like, oh, good for you.
I don't even remember saying
I was
that.
like,
I'm
what?
glad it
Yeah.
helped you.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
that's great.
So, hopefully, maybe this podcast will be like that. It's like, man, that was really good. I was like, or somebody just comes and says like, that was the crappiest podcast. That was the worst 15 minutes of my life. I want my 15 minutes back. And I'm like, I'm sorry, sir. There's no refunds on life. I do not have a DeLorean.
Hey, but you can tell those people, I'm glad I could help you find out the things that don't work for you.
Yeah. Hey, perspective.
Perspective. It's important.
So
It's very important.
yeah, as far as like, I guess this with this pod, there's
Can't
really
worry.
not much more to say other than like, don't worry about tomorrow, because it just kind of says it all in itself. As
Yeah.
far as like, just do the things you need to do today. Keep on growing, keep on developing, and then know your dreams, know your goals, know where you're going, and you're eventually gonna get there.
Well, the key to not worrying about tomorrow, I mean, you really said it. It's to live right now.
Mm-hmm.
I know that's cliche, but it's cliche because it's true. But people would say that. I'm like, what does it mean to live right now? What does that mean?
Yeah.
But it means you actually know what your goals are, and you're putting a hard work, persistent approach, whatever it may be. Sometimes the work you need is to rest.
Yeah.
Sometimes you need to rest, and that's part of your approach. Sometimes you need to stop worrying about all the other things you think you need and focus on the one thing that's important. And just stick with that to reach your goals, because like you said, or you don't worry about tomorrow if you've done the things you're supposed to yesterday.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the hope, is like people will just learn to live right now. Take that perspective and say, do I really need all this extra stuff in my life? Do I need all these extra hobbies or whatever it may be?
Mm-hmm.
And just say, my goal is this, and I need to stick with this.
Mm-hmm.
And the military, man, they're good at that. They're good at saying our goal is to make a soldier.
Yeah.
And then they send them to basic training, and then they make them a soldier.
Mm-hmm.
Or they let them know real quick, you can't do this for one reason or another. And, if you want to really learn some psychology, look at military psychological studies of people, because they really need to know how hard they can push those young folks.
Yeah.
And how hard they can drive a human before they're just give out.
Yeah. The human, you'd be surprised. Like the human body and mind can experience a lot of pain before it actually breaks.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. But it's just all about staying with your goal, focusing on what you actually love and want, and letting everything else just let it. You got responsibilities, but
yeah.
But you need to, if you have responsibilities, if you don't want them, you need to figure out a way to honorably get rid of them. If you have debts, pay off your debts. If you have a wife and kids, okay, well, that's your responsibility, but you can keep working towards your goals. Just figure out how to do it without neglecting them.
And it's amazing. Like whenever you actually take the time to just do the things you're able to do today, because like, for instance, debt, like that's a big one. Like, oh my gosh, that can cause you to worry so much, especially when you owe something, then it's like the deadline's coming due. But if you're focused on a daily basis and like, oh man, hey, this is what I can do today to make this money. But it's like something like, the universe just comes to your aid when you're actually moving forward and doing the things you're supposed to be doing. But when you're just sitting still and just worrying and contemplating, it's like it just gets compounded, and the worry gets more worry and more worry. I've done this so many times where I'm laying in bed and I start thinking about something, and then that thought leads to another thought, and then that thought leads to another thought, and then next thing you know, it's like I can't sleep. So this worrying has robbed me of my sleep.
Oh, yeah.
And I'm just like, no, I'm not going to do that, because now I'm going to,
Because getting that good night's rest is what you need. That's your hard
that's
work
what I need
for that
right
moment.
now. That's the work that I need to be doing. Right now I need to be resting so that tomorrow when I wake up, I can do the things that I need to be doing.
Oh, yeah. Compartmentalize your life in that way. Yeah. Say, I need to sleep now. Now it's time for my children. I'm spending time with my children, and nothing else matters. Not my phone, not my friends, not my other responsibilities. And you don't worry about it. You throw the ball, you play with the trucks, you go fishing, whatever it is you do with your kids. And that's one thing I've learned is this block of time is for this thing.
Yes.
And this thing alone. And what that does is it says, well, maybe, this thing I thought was important isn't as important, because I don't want to give an hour to say I'm going to just go surf the internet for an hour.
Yeah.
Not a lot of people will prioritize surfing the internet for an hour. They just find themselves doing it.
Yeah.
And so you've got to say, nope, I don't use the phone right now. I record this podcast. Nope, I can't do this other thing now. I have to focus on my job. And what you find is your life gets more organized, more comfortable, and there's less worry because you're seeing the productivity. Like that is a step-by-step approach to that. But you got to be honest with yourself too. And you can't say, well, I just look at my phone every once in a while. It's like, no, you don't.
No.
A lot of people waste more time on their phones than they realize. And it's a sad thing because, and it was phone, it's phones now. It was something else before.
Oh yeah. There's always, humans,
time wasters are real.
We've always found we're really good at finding ways to waste time.
Oh yeah.
Being productive and focused, it takes work and it takes dedication. It's hard work.
And it's so crazy because once you accomplish something, you feel so great.
Yeah.
That's the thing that gets me is we waste time, but once we actually accomplish something, I'm like, oh, this feels so good. I want more of this.
Yeah.
But then you get hung up in that, well, I just want to do this, that, or the other.
But anyways, I guess that's a good point to close it at.
Yeah.
I'm going to finish it out.
Yeah. I want to say thank you for everyone for listening to a Mexican and a redneck father the world. Don't worry. It's going to be all right. We love you and we're proud of you.